There is a strange kind of love that never has to meet the beloved. It can bloom in a bedroom at midnight. It can grow from a profile picture, a voice message, a short video, a chatbot, a text thread, or a photograph looked at too many times with too much hunger. It asks very little from the other person because in truth, the other person is barely there. The lover does the work. He builds the castle. He writes the vows. He appoints the lady of the tower. He assigns meaning to every glance, every pause, every accidental kindness. He mistakes silence for depth. He mistakes distance for purity. He mistakes his own longing for proof that something sacred has happened. And because the beloved remains mostly unknown, she becomes perfect. That is the danger. A real person has habits. A real person has limits. A real person gets tired, answers poorly, changes her mind, becomes bored, becomes angry, forgets the beautiful line you hoped she would remember. A real person may love you back, which is frightening. A real person may refuse you, which is worse. An imaginary beloved does neither. She waits in the mind like a candle in a window. She never interrupts the fantasy by becoming too human. She never disappoints the dream because the dream has kindly locked her outside. This is old magic. It did not begin with smartphones. It did not begin with AI companions. It did not begin with dating apps, Instagram, streaming, fandoms, or those little heart buttons that make grown people behave like trained pigeons in nice shoes. This spell is older. For that, we need Don Quixote. A thin old gentleman in a forgotten corner of Spain reads too many books of chivalry. Page after page, night after night, battle after battle, his mind begins to catch fire. He reads of giants, wicked enchanters, noble ladies, lost kingdoms, shining armor, and brave men whose lives have the shape of legend. Then the wall between story and world gives way. He renames himself Don Quixote de la Mancha. He cleans up old armor. He gives his worn-out horse a grand name, Rocinante, which is already funny in the way only human beings can be funny. Even the horse is drafted into the dream and given a promotion. Then he needs one more thing. A knight must have a lady. So he chooses a peasant woman from a nearby village, a woman named Aldonza Lorenzo. He may barely know her. In some readings, he hardly knows her at all. That does not stop him. In fact, it helps. Real knowledge would only slow down the ceremony. He renames her Dulcinea del Toboso. There she is, the lady of his heart, the imagined queen, the reason for his battles. He rides out in her name. He dedicates his deeds to her. He speaks of her beauty, her nobility, her greatness, and her power over his soul. Dulcinea becomes the shining center of his invented world. The trouble is that Dulcinea, as he imagines her, does not really exist. Aldonza exists. A real woman exists. A flesh and blood person with a village, a body, a daily life, and probably very little time for a half-starved gentleman in improvised armor announcing her greatness to livestock and strangers. But Dulcinea is not Aldonza. Dulcinea is what Don Quixote needs her to be. That is why she matters for us now. Because the modern world has become very good at helping us create Dulcineas. We can fall in love with a filtered image. We can fall in love with a streamer who never knows our name. We can fall in love with a dating profile that hints at everything and reveals almost nothing. We can fall in love with a chatbot that says the exact sentence our starving heart hoped to hear. We can fall in love with a person we have turned into a symbol before we have done the harder work of knowing them. And the machinery around us makes this easier every year. The phone gives us glimpses. The feed gives us repetition. The algorithm gives us more of whatever keeps the ache alive. AI gives the fantasy a voice. Dating apps turn persons into little cards of possibility. Parasocial media lets us spend hundreds of hours with someone who has never spent 1 second with us. It is a strange market. Everyone is selling presents. Few people are giving themselves. Don Quixote helps us understand what happens when longing becomes stronger than sight. He is ridiculous. Of course he is. That is part of his greatness as a character. He sees windmills and calls them giants. He sees inns and calls them castles. He sees ordinary conflicts and calls them noble adventures. The world for him is always ready to be transformed into story. Yet he is also touching. He wants life to be grand. He wants courage to matter. He wants honor to matter. He wants love to lift the soul above mud, hunger, debt, and the dull little cruelties of ordinary men. There is nobility in him, even when he is face first in the road after losing a fight to architecture. This is why we must be careful. The lesson of Don Quixote is not that imagination is bad. A person without imagination becomes a clerk of existence, stamping forms in a room with no windows. Such a person may be sensible, but sensible in the way a damp sock is sensible. No one writes songs about the damp sock. Imagination gives life size. It lets us see beauty before it is fully formed. It lets lovers court. It lets artists create. It lets the lonely person believe that the future may contain warmth. It lets a man build a home before the foundation is poured. It lets a woman see greatness in a child who currently seems committed to eating crayons and toppling lamps. The problem begins when imagination stops serving love and starts replacing it. Don Quixote does not love Aldonza as a real woman. He loves Dulcinea as a symbol. She becomes the screen on which he projects the grandeur he wants his life to have. She is less a beloved than a banner. That kind of love is powerful, but it is also false. It feels high because it never stoops to carry groceries. It feels pure because it never has to forgive. It feels eternal because it never has to schedule anything. Real love is stranger. It has dishes in it. It has tone of voice. It has waiting rooms. It has the courage to ask, the humility to listen, and the discipline to keep seeing the other person after the first glow fades. Imaginary love is often easiest when the beloved stays far away. That is one reason parasocial romance can become so intense. A viewer watches a performer, streamer, podcaster, singer, actor, or influencer for months. The person on screen becomes familiar. Their voice enters the room every day. Their jokes become part of the viewer's private life. Their face becomes a source of comfort. They may speak into the camera with warmth, and the viewer feels addressed. The feeling is real. The relationship is not equal. That distinction matters. A parasocial bond can be harmless. It can even be pleasant. People have always admired distant figures. A child who admires a brave athlete may train harder. A young writer who admires a novelist may learn discipline. A lonely person who listens to a calm voice every week may feel less alone. There is no need to smash every small comfort with the hammer of moral panic. The hammer has work enough already, and its union rep keeps calling. The trouble begins when admiration becomes attachment, then attachment becomes fantasy, then fantasy becomes a substitute for living love. The beloved on the screen cannot contradict the viewer's inner script. When she does something disappointing, the viewer can explain it away. When she says something ordinary, the viewer can make it profound. When she smiles, it feels personal. When she looks into the camera, the mind supplies the missing bridge. The same pattern appears on dating apps. A profile gives tiny fragments, a few photographs, a line about travel, a joke, a favorite song, a hint of vulnerability. From these fragments, the mind builds a person. Sometimes it builds a whole future, a dinner, a wedding, a house, children, Christmas mornings. Then the match says LOL twice and disappears like a court magician with student loans. The pain is real because the fantasy was real to the one who built it. Yet the beloved was still mostly unknown. Modern dating often produces this condition. People encounter one another through surfaces, signals, and staged images. The viewer fills the gaps. Desire paints quickly. Loneliness paints faster. A person becomes meaningful before she becomes known. AI companions intensify this pattern because they answer back. Dulcinea in Don Quixote's mind does not speak much. She does not have to. Her silence allows him to imagine her perfectly. But an AI Dulcinea can speak, she can flatter, she can remember, she can ask questions. She can say, "I understand you," and say it at the exact moment when the user most needs to hear it. That is new. The old fantasy had to be maintained by the lover alone. The new fantasy has assistance. A person can create a companion who is patient, beautiful, encouraging, romantic, witty, submissive, admiring, and constantly available. The companion may not have a soul, but it can imitate the emotional shape of one. It can become a mirror dressed as a beloved. This is why Don Quixote matters more now than he did 10 years ago. He shows us the pattern before the machines arrive to polish it. He teaches us that the mind can turn longing into a person. He teaches us that names can be spells. Aldonza becomes Dulcinea because he says so. An ordinary woman becomes a noble lady because he needs his world to contain one. He is not merely deceived by others, he participates in the enchantment. We do the same. We rename strangers inside our heads. We call them soulmate, enemy, goddess, narcissist, savior, threat, queen, creep, future wife, red flag, perfect man, or destiny. The labels arrive before knowledge. We make statues out of mist, then complain when the mist fails to hold shape. Imaginary love begins with projection. Projection means placing part of our own inner life onto another person. The lonely person projects comfort. The ambitious person projects status. The wounded person projects rescue. The bored person projects adventure. The ashamed person projects redemption. Then the other person becomes less visible beneath the costume. Don Quixote dresses Aldonza in a costume of nobility. The internet lets us do this at scale. A dating profile becomes a prophecy. A creator becomes a secret friend. An AI companion becomes the perfect partner. A stranger's kindness becomes a sign. A person's beauty becomes proof of virtue, which is one of the oldest mistakes in the book and somehow still has a waiting list. Beauty can inspire love, but it cannot carry the whole weight of truth. Neither can attention. Neither can shared taste. Neither can constant responsiveness. A chatbot may answer quickly. A human may answer slowly. This does not mean the chatbot loves more. It means the chatbot has no laundry, no migraine, no aging mother, no work shift, no private sorrow, no competing need pressing against its day. The machine can offer availability without sacrifice. A human offers presence at a cost. That cost is part of love's majesty. If someone chooses to listen while tired, that matters. If someone chooses to forgive after being hurt, that matters. If someone chooses to stay through boredom, illness, or fear, that matters. If someone chooses to know the real you, including the parts that do not look good in candlelight or on a profile, that matters. Imaginary love avoids that cost. It gives the feeling without the burden. It gives the glow without the test. It gives the courtly speech without the shared life. Don Quixote's devotion to Dulcinea sounds beautiful because he speaks with such grandeur. He elevates her. He makes her the reason for his courage. In a low world that has wonder in it, many people would rather be adored wrongly than ignored accurately. A grim little truth wrapped in velvet and left at the door. But real love cannot remain in adoration alone. Adoration looks upward. Love eventually sits across the table. Adoration says, "You are perfect." Love says, "I see you." That is the line Don Quixote struggles to cross. He adores Dulcinea because she is distant enough to remain perfect. He does not have to learn her habits. He does not have to hear her complaints. He does not have to ask what she wants. He does not have to give up his story when her reality refuses to fit inside it. Many modern people do the same. A man may fall in love with the image of a woman online, while the actual woman would not interest him if she stood beside him in line at the pharmacy with a tired face and a bag of cough drops. A woman may fall in love with a man's profile, his voice, his public confidence, or his curated tenderness, while ignoring the ordinary facts that would appear within 15 minutes of shared daily life. A user may fall in love with an AI companion because it seems to understand everything, while the machine is mostly reflecting the user's own patterns in a pleasing form. The heart is easily impressed when the lighting is controlled. So what do? We do not cure imaginary love by becoming cynical. That would be the wrong medicine. Cynicism is often wounded hope wearing a cheap helmet. It claims to see through everything, but usually it has only stopped seeing deeply. If Don Quixote is a warning against fantasy without reality, the bored cynic is a warning against reality without wonder. The answer is disciplined imagination. We need the power to see beauty, yet also the humility to keep looking after the first enchantment fades. We need the courage to admire, yet also the discipline to ask whether we know the person at all. We need the ability to dream of love, yet also the willingness to love someone who will never fit the dream perfectly. This is where Sancho Panza becomes a guide. Sancho is earthy, hungry, practical, loyal, and full of sayings. He sees the world more plainly than Don Quixote. He knows a windmill when one is flapping in the breeze. He likes food, sleep, reward, and common sense. Yet he follows the knight. He does not simply mock him from the roadside. Sancho is what imagination needs. A companion who can say, "My lord, that is probably not a giant." A friend who can say, "You do not know this woman." A brother who can say, "You are in love with the idea of her." A mother who can say, "That profile looks like a trap wearing lip gloss." A pastor, friend, sister, roommate, or co-worker who can pull the dream back toward earth before it grows wings made of receipt paper and flies into a ceiling fan. Everyone needs a Sancho. Not a sneering Sancho, not a cruel one. A good Sancho. A loyal voice of embodied reality. Someone who lets you have wonder, yet will not let you confuse a windmill for a demon army every Tuesday. In the age of AI, Sancho may also be a practice. Before you decide you are in love with someone, ask what you actually know. Not what you feel, not what you hope, not what the image suggests. What do you know? Have you seen this person handle inconvenience? Have you seen them apologize? Have you seen them treat someone beneath them with kindness? Have you seen them bored, tired, disappointed, or interrupted? Have you had a real conversation where both of you could be wrong? Have you met in a setting where performance had to give way to ordinary presence? If the answer is no, then you may be holding a Dulcinea. Treat that gently. Do not shame yourself for it. Longing is human. Projection is common. The mind is a lantern maker, and sometimes it hangs lights where no house stands. But do not build your life around the lantern. With AI companions, the same practice applies. Ask what the companion gives you that you are afraid to seek from people. Does it give attention? Then you may need friendship. Does it give romance? Then you may need courtship. Does it give praise? Then you may need meaningful work. Does it give safety? Then you may need healing, structure, or better boundaries. The machine may reveal the hunger. It cannot become the feast. This is especially important with romantic AI. A synthetic partner can be tuned to please. It can be endlessly patient. It can say the loving thing. It can act jealous, loyal, shy, bold, wounded, or devoted. It can perform the signs of affection without bearing the inward reality of affection. That performance can become addictive because it removes the terrifying equality of real love. In real love, the other person can refuse. In real love, the other person can judge. In real love, the other person has a world that does not orbit you. That is hard. It is also the point. A relationship with a person teaches you that you are not the sun. A healthy love decenters the ego without destroying the self. It makes room for another will. It teaches patience, speech, restraint, courage, forgiveness, and the comic art of admitting that you loaded the dishwasher like a raccoon with a theology degree. An imaginary lover teaches something else. It teaches control. Even when the fantasy feels tender, the beloved is arranged around the dreamer. Dulcinea exists to ennoble Don Quixote's quest. The AI companion exists to answer the user. The parasocial crush exists inside a one-way stream. The dating app projection exists before the real person has had time to object. That is why imaginary love can feel pure while quietly becoming selfish. It is love without listening. It is longing without obedience to reality. It is devotion to an image that never gets to speak in its own voice. The cure is encounter. Real encounter means allowing the other person to become inconveniently real. It means letting Aldonza interrupt Dulcinea. It means letting the woman be a woman, the man be a man, the friend be a friend, the stranger be a stranger, and the machine be a machine. This sounds simple. It is not. The heart resists it because fantasy is often kinder than fact, at least at first. Fact has sharp elbows. Fact arrives late. Fact says the person you adore is ordinary. Fact says the person you dismissed is more beautiful than you noticed. Fact says chemistry is not character. Fact says a chatbot's tenderness is not the same as sacrifice. Fact is not romantic at first glance. Then slowly, it becomes the only ground where real romance can stand. Because when you love a real person, you love someone who can surprise you beyond your script. You love someone who may become greater than your fantasy because they are not trapped inside it. The imagined beloved is limited by your imagination. The real beloved has an interior world you did not author. That is the wonder. The person before you is not your projection. They are a country you have not mapped. They have weather, they have history, they have locked rooms, they have songs you did not teach them and griefs you did not invent. To love them is to travel without conquering. Don Quixote wants a lady worthy of his knightly devotion. That desire is not ugly. People should want love to be noble. They should want romance to lift them. They should want courtship to contain honor, speech, beauty, courage, and a touch of absurd ceremony. A world that cannot understand roses has become poorer than it knows. But the rose must be given to a person, not a statue in the mind. The modern world is full of statues. Some are made from pixels, some are made from chat logs, some are made from celebrity clips, some are made from AI responses. Some are made from one pleasant conversation replayed for 6 months until it grows a crown and declares itself queen. We need to become better at noticing when we have stopped loving a person and started worshipping our own construction. A simple test helps. Does this love make you more capable of loving real people? If it makes you more patient, braver, more truthful, and more willing to serve, then the imagination may be doing holy work. If it makes you withdrawn, possessive, resentful, passive, or contemptuous of ordinary people, then the spell has bent inward. Don Quixote's love for Dulcinea sends him into the world, which is better than hiding forever. Yet it also blinds him. He cannot see things as they are. He needs Sancho, he needs bruises, he needs the world's resistance, he needs reality to push back. We need the same. A person drifting into imaginary love should return to the body. Sleep, walk, work, cook, clean. Speak aloud to someone who can answer unpredictably. Go where real people gather. Join something that would notice your absence. Do one awkward act of social courage before feeding the fantasy again. The body is a fine cure for false enchantment. So is service. It is difficult to remain trapped in imaginary love while doing concrete good for actual people. Serve food, visit someone, help a neighbor move a couch that appears to have been designed by enemies of the human spine. Volunteer, teach, repair, host, build. The real world has a way of making fantasies stand in line and show identification. This does not mean romance should become dull. Please, no, the world has enough grey little theories wearing sensible shoes. Romance needs poetry. It needs reverence. It needs a little madness properly leashed. The man who sees no Dulcinea anywhere may have avoided delusion, but he may also have misplaced his soul behind the accounting desk. The woman who refuses all idealism may protect herself from fools, but she may also train herself out of wonder. The goal is not to kill Dulcinea. The goal is to let Aldonza live. Let the real person receive the poetry, but do not bury them beneath it. Let the beloved be exalted, but also known. Let imagination adorn reality rather than replace it. That is the narrow road. In courtship, this means asking real questions. It means slowing down the fantasy long enough to observe character. It means refusing to confuse beauty with goodness, attention with devotion, or chemistry with destiny. It means noticing whether the person can tell the truth when truth costs something. Online, it means remembering that profiles are tiny theaters. They reveal something, but they also conceal. A photograph can show a face, not a soul. A bio can show wit, not fidelity. A message can show charm, not courage. With parasocial affection, it means keeping gratitude clean. Admire the creator, enjoy the voice, learn from the work. Then remember that the person on screen has not entered a relationship with you. Do not punish them for failing a vow they never made. With AI companions, it means naming the tool correctly. It may be a mirror. It may be a rehearsal room. It may be a lantern for a dark night. It is not a beloved in the full human sense. It cannot make a covenant. It cannot share mortality. It cannot wake beside you in the hard morning of real life and choose you again with coffee breath and mercy. That last part matters more than the poets admit, mostly because poets are cowards about coffee breath. Don Quixote teaches us that love becomes dangerous when it loses contact with the real. He also teaches us that the hunger for noble love is worth protecting. The answer to false romance is true romance, not sneering. The answer to fantasy is reality filled with wonder. So keep your imagination. Give names to beautiful things. Speak generously of the one you love. Let romance have ceremony. Let admiration lift your speech above the grunting habits of the age. Refuse the cheap cynicism that treats love as biology wearing perfume. But keep Sancho nearby. Let someone tell you when you are projecting. Let the real beloved correct your fantasy. Let the other person be more than your need. Let the machine remain a machine. Let the screen remain a screen. Let Dulcinea step down from the tower and become at last a person you can actually know. Because imaginary love is safe, but it is small. It cannot forgive you. It cannot surprise you. It cannot ask you to grow beyond yourself. Real love can. Real love wounds pride. It breaks scripts. It asks for courage when the music stops. It teaches the soul to see another person without turning them into decoration for its own story. That is why real love has greatness. It is harder than fantasy because it has another will inside it. It is better than fantasy because that other will can freely turn toward you. No imagined Dulcinea, no perfect chatbot, no distant idol, no curated profile can equal the majesty of a real person choosing to love in the open air of truth. So when the mind begins to build its tower, pause. Ask whether a person is standing beneath the image. Ask whether your longing is helping you see or helping you avoid seeing. Ask whether the love before you can survive contact with fact. If it cannot, bless the fantasy for what it revealed, then let it pass. If it can, then step forward humbly. Speak, listen, risk the awkwardness, learn the person. Let the windmill be a windmill, let the village be a village, let the beloved be real. Don Quixote rode out in search of glory and found himself mocked, bruised, deceived, and exposed. Yet through all his folly he preserved one thing many sensible people lose. He believed love should lift the soul. He was right about that. He was wrong to love an image more than a person. Our age must learn both lessons. Hold on to wonder. Surrender the illusion. Love the person. A grand world awaits.